Hello and welcome back to another chapter of Skinnybones. Today I'll read chapter 3, and if you remember from chapter 2, we kind of learned a little bit more about Alex's sense of humor and that he likes to be the center of attention, and he says that all of the teachers that he's had so far have never been funnier than him, so they all don't like him, in his opinion. And we met TJ Stoner, a new student the year before, who is a big-time baseball player and kind of acts like he's pretty cool, and Alex doesn't seem to like him with his first impression. We'll learn a lot more about TJ, probably in this chapter here. Chapter 3. Sometimes I think it would be fun to be a school principal, especially in the summer. A school principal spends his summers making up lists of all the kids in the school who hate each other. That's one kid's opinion, right, boys and girls? Then he makes sure he puts them together in the same class. He really must have had a good laugh when he put TJ and me in the same room again this year. Ever since I got sent to the principal for wearing wax lips to music class, he hasn't seemed to like me much. When I first discovered the bad news about TJ, I hurried home to tell my mother. I was hoping that maybe she could call the school and have me switched to a different classroom or something. But to no such luck. All my mother did was tell me that I should try to ignore him. She's always giving me great advice like that. Then she hands me my lunch, shoves me out the door, and her problems are over for the day. Mine are just beginning. Last year, TJ Stoner grew to be the biggest kid in the whole 5th grade. When I began to notice how big he was getting, I decided it might not be a bad idea to try to make friends with him. But unfortunately, TJ didn't seem too interested. If I remember correctly, his exact words were, "Get lost, creephead." "Does that mean no?" I asked. TJ grabbed me by the shoulders and looked me straight in the eye. Then he said, "It means I hate your guts, Alex." "Oh, come on, TJ," I said, smiling. "Can't our guts be friends?" TJ didn't think that was quite as funny as I did. I could tell by the way he pushed me down and sat on my head. "Stop being such a jerk, you skinny bag of bones. You're beginning to get on my nerves." He gave me another shove and left. It's too bad my mother wasn't there. Maybe she could have told me how to ignore someone's knee when it's shoved in your mouth. I think the worst thing about being in the same room with TJ is having him in my Phi Ed class. I hate to admit it, but he's really a great athlete. For a kid, TJ Stoner is the best baseball player that I've ever seen. There's only one sport that I'm better at than TJ: square dancing. I figure I can count square dancing as a sport because we do it in Phi Ed. You ought to see me. I can promenade my partner better than any other kid in the whole school. One time I asked the gym teacher, Mr. McGuinsky, if he ever thought about starting a school square dancing team. I told him that if he did, I would like to volunteer to be the team captain. He must have thought I was making a joke. He told me to sit my tail down and be quiet. Gym teachers like to say tail a lot. I do play other sports besides square dancing. Take Little League, for instance. I've been in Little League for 6 years now, but to tell you the truth, I'm not what you'd call a real good athlete. Actually, I'm not even really fair. I'm more what you'd call real stinky. I've got proof. Every single year that I've played Little League, I have received the trophy for the most improved player. You may think that means I'm pretty good. That's what I used to think too. But over the past 6 years, I've noticed that none of the really good players ever get the most improved player award. And I finally figured out why. It's because the good players are already so good that they can't improve much. Let's face it, the only players on a team who can improve are the players who stink to begin with. Last year, at the end of baseball season, I tried to explain how I felt to my father. We were sitting together at the Little League awards ceremony. The announcer began calling the names of all the players who were going to be receiving trophies. I started to get really nervous. "Just relax, Alex," said my father. "It won't be the end of the world if you don't win Most Improved again this year." He just didn't understand at all. "That's just it, Dad," I said, trying to explain. "I don't want to get Most Improved again. I don't mean to be a poor sport or anything, but if they call my name, why don't we just pretend we're not here? What do you say, Dad?" I could tell by his face that my father was shocked. "Pretend we're not here?" he said loudly. "What kind of sportsmanship do you call that?" "Shh, Dad, not so loud," I said, trying to quiet him down. "It's just too embarrassing to get another Improved Award, that's all. I just don't want it." "I can't believe you," my father exclaimed. "How ungrateful can you get, Alex? Do you know how many kids here would love to get that award tonight?" "I know, Dad," I answered, "but that's only because most of them haven't figured out what the Most Improved trophy really means. They don't understand that getting that award means that you were really a stinko player at the beginning of the season. Big deal. I'm supposed to be happy because I've gone from being stinko to just plain smelly?" About that time, I heard my name being called over the microphone. "Alex Frankovich, Most Improved Player for Team Number 7, Preston's Pest Control." When I heard it, I slid way down in my seat so that no one could see me. I could tell that my father was very annoyed with the way I was acting. He kept trying to grab my arm and make me stand up. Instead, I doubled over even further and put my head between my knees. The announcer called my name again. "Alex Frankovich, is Alex here?" he bellowed. My father jumped up from his seat and pointed at me. At least that's what I think he did. I couldn't be sure. I was too busy trying to wad myself up into a little ball. "Here he is, right here!" screamed my dad. "Alex Frankovich is right here!" I guess everyone thought I was just being shy. The next thing I knew, the announcer shouted, "Let's give Alex a little applause to get him down here." Everyone started clapping. Then a few of the kids who knew me started shouting, "We want Alex! We want Alex!" Finally, I had no choice. I stood up and started making my way down the bleachers. By the time I reached the 5th row, I had decided that I would never speak to my father again. When I got to the bottom, I spotted TJ Stoner. He was there getting another Most Valuable Player trophy. He kept pointing at me and laughing, pointing and laughing. I just couldn't let him get away with making fun of me. I decided that the only thing I could do was to pretend that I was really enjoying myself. I walked to the middle of the gym floor, turned around and started taking bows and throwing kisses. Then I walked over to the table and picked up my trophy. The announcer handed me the microphone as I received my award. I was supposed to say thank you, but instead, I took the microphone, held it up to my mouth, and burped. The whole crowd started laughing at once. At least that's the way it sounded. Actually, I think the only people laughing were the kids. Usually, grown-ups don't think burping is quite as funny as kids do. After that, I decided to walk home. I knew I was in trouble, so I went straight to my room and waited for my father. While I was waiting, I made a sign and hung it on the outside of my door. The sign said, "This room belongs to Alex Frankovich, the only boy in the whole world who has gone from stinko to smelly 6 years in a row." When my father saw the sign, he didn't even bother coming into my room to yell at me. I guess he figured I already felt bad enough. He he was right. And that's the end of chapter 3.